What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the 1025 podcast. This is episode 16. I'm Jordan along with Kristen and Ayana, and today we're going to be talking about a crisis that has been happening on the other side of the world for the past few weeks, and that's the Afghan refugee crisis. Now, for those who don't know, I think this was on August 24th. A group of, hundreds of Afghan Muslims tried to flee Afghanistan to go to the United States to get away from the Taliban and all those type of people, and they boarded a C-17 airplane and they tried to escape. Some people were actually hanging off the plane, and then of course that didn't work and they fell to their deaths. I'm gonna pull up an article from CNN and let me share this with y'all. There we go. Okay. And it says right here that approximately 820 Afghan refugees packed aboard a U.S. military C-17 plane. Men, women, and children all huddled together as they escaped Taliban rule for a new life in the United States. Stop this. Now, this issue has been happening in not only in southeastern countries, but it's been happening all around the world forever, really. How many times have you ever read a story about a Hispanic family trying to cross the border to go to the United States while being apprehended by ICE and all those type of people, and there's many others. So, Kristen and Ayana, I want to ask you guys, what are y'all's thoughts overall on this entire situation? If you were I would say, if you guys were like the president, would you guys allow these people to come over, or would you guys kind of be like me, who I would allow them to come over, but I would be a little paranoid to have them in our country? What are y'all's thoughts?
I think I would like to think that I would allow the refugees to come over here because this country was built upon immigration and people migrating from, war and hard times and stuff like that. So I feel like it would be a little, I don't want to say contradicting, but it wouldn't feel right knowing the, life and liberty and pursuit of happiness that this country is built upon, and then turning around and not letting, refugees come into the country. And, of course, I would be apprehensive regardless of who wants to come into the country. Anybody from anywhere can be a bad person, regardless of where they're coming from. But it's times like this where, this was pretty much inevitable, regardless of if we had pulled our troops out 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years ago, it wouldn't really matter. This was bound to happen when we decided to finally pull our troops out of the Middle East. And I think that a lot of innocent people are suffering right now because of this country's apprehensiveness towards brown refugees and brown immigrants. And I would like to think that I would allow them into the country however they come, whatever they have, and provide them safety and a place to stay, food, shelter, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kristen?
I think I would be quick to allow them in because they're facing a pandemic as well as facing literally the Taliban trying to take over, start a new government. So I think they need our help more than anything right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of the main reasons why I said that I was a little bit paranoid in allowing these people to come over is I always look back to September 11. I think Saturday is going to be like 20 years since 9/11 happened, and
Mm-hmm.
of course, that happened during a time where our national security wasn't up to snuff as it is now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, when I saw that picture of all the refugees on that plane, I was thinking, okay, cool that they're gonna come over here, but how do we know that they're not gonna try to pull something, like that on our soil, on American soil like that? You know what I'm saying? Um, And then doing further research on it, you could definitely tell that the Taliban, they kind of had the grasp of Afghanistan in their hands, basically. I mean, I've read articles from 2014 when ISIS was still around on how they literally threw a man off of a building because apparently he was gay, he was a homosexual. I just
Hmm.
think that was absolutely insane to me because and it's my mind is a little bit jumbled up today, but like it kind of makes you it kind of makes America feels like they're obligated to step in because America is land of the free, home of the brave. So it's like, okay, let's bring these people over, and they'll automatically be Americans now. They don't have to worry about uh, uh, being demonized for their sexual preference. Like I even remember when I was in ninth grade, an Iranian boy got beheaded because he was listening to hip hop music. It was like
Hmm.
stuff like that. People are going to be free to other do whatever they want to do. Even though now we have our society has been kind of built on the backs of discrimination and racism. At least if I listen to Kanye West, I'm not gonna get a bullet in my head.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, I completely understand your sense of paranoia about the situation, but um, I just would like to, keep in mind we're the ones who, just kind of spread ourselves into the Middle East. And like you said, America, like as a whole, feels this sense of obligation to, house the refugees and stuff like that. But I can't say for certain if we had never sent our troops to Afghanistan, if this would happen or not. I
Yeah.
don't know. I can't predict the future. I don't know what would have happened if we did anything differently. But what's happening is we were given this year, I want to say, when country were given what was left behind. And what was left behind was a terrible situation with Trump just quickly pulling all of the troops out of Afghanistan without any kind of, negotiation, without any word, without really saying anything to anybody. He just kind of did what he wanted to do. And
Yeah.
because of that, we've got this whole mess of a situation. And these are definitely unforeseen circumstances, but I don't think that there's really any right or wrong way to go about it. It's going to be hard regardless of how we go about the situation. But that sense of obligation does come from us infiltrating Afghanistan to begin with. Our troops have been there for I don't know how long. And after the 9/11 attack, it got even worse. And the crime against Muslims and the crime against, Middle Eastern people, anyone from that general area, to be honest, you don't even have to be Muslim. Just the fact that you were once Pakistani or your parents come from Afghanistan or Iran or anything like that, that kind of stuff can put you in danger. But what is going on right now in Afghanistan, those people are suffering for things that they might not even believe in, stuff
Yeah.
that they have no control over. And we, as a free country, have the opportunity to save as many people as possible from that. We don't even have to bring in the entire population of Afghanistan, but bringing in as many people as possible, those who we really need, the women and the children, that kind of stuff is not necessarily an obligation, but morally, I don't see why we wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
True. And I remember actually reading a lot of different countries, the bordering countries, trying to open up their borders to Afghanistan, but they're unable to. Like they just can't take as many refugees as they thought they would be able to.
Because I think the main reason why a lot of people are kind of skeptical when it comes to opening up borders and all that type of stuff is mainly overpopulation. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Oh, COVID.
that too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, even if we look at the border across Mexico that those kids were being housed in cages at, I mean, that, in my opinion, those conditions were extremely barbaric. But it's like,
Of
if we
course.
let these people in, they, you know, there's not going to be a whole lot of room for everybody in America. I know that sounds really stupid, but
I mean, but you're right. There's barely any room for the people who are already here, which
yeah,
is why like this kind of situation is quite possibly the worst outcome that could have come out of all of this. But I mean, the reality of it is those people are trapped over there.
yeah,
And I don't want to speak for anybody who's living through that or has lived through anything similar to that, but I feel like I would rather be in a crowded room than be in a room with somebody who's actively trying to kill me.
Yes.
yeah,
That is like that, in my opinion, has to be one of the easiest decisions ever. You had hundreds of thousands of people over the course of 10 years now crossing over the Mexican border to get here from Honduras, from Guatemala, from Mexico, from Panama, from all of those crime-ridden countries into America, which has been overpopulated for quite some time now, but they're still actively choosing to cross the border because they know they would be much safer over here, regardless of how many people are already in here. Yeah, we're packed in here like sardines. We have been for quite some time now, but that feels like a better situation than what they're living through right now.
yeah. Uh, I'm really trying to think right now. I'm really trying to think. Uh, I mean, when it comes to overpopulation, I definitely think that certain, uh, cities are definitely overcrowded, like New York, like Los Angeles. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
do I think people from Mexico are gonna? I mean, well, yeah, because Los Angeles has a lot of Mexicans running around. I honestly don't even know what the fuck else to say now. Like, I'm just trying to think, cause it's like,
I
I
mean,
just
people.
think, oh, go ahead.
just
Uh,
go, just go.
I mean, people move to these big cities for opportunities. So it's like people already know that areas are heavily populated over there. Even people from Georgia are moving to bigger cities. Like it's literally
Mm-hmm.
the opportunities over there are better than the opportunities in the place that they traveled from. Like obviously. So that's the reason why people are moving. Even if it's crowded, even if it's like stressful, it's a whole lot better than what they left.
And like
Like,
a
Yeah,
little unrelated, oh, like a little bit. I have been, for some reason, I've been seeing a lot of interviews with people who have escaped from North Korea recently. Like over the past week, I think I've listened to at least four people now talk about their experience with escaping from North Korea. And what I've noticed is that they went from a very, 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 very unwanted lifestyle for that they have lived since birth into what they had to do, which was migrate into China, which for the most part, if you're a woman and you're escaping from North Korea, you get sex trafficked. And that's not ideal either, but they came to the conclusion that what they would face in China was much better than what they were living through in North Korea.
yeah,
And both aren't ideal. Most people don't want to live in North Korea. They don't want to have to live up to the standards and starve every day and have to wonder when you're going to eat next and stuff like that. And nobody wants to be sex trafficked anywhere
yeah,
ever. So it's not something that they wanted to do, but it was something that they had to do to get out of what was eventually going to kill them prematurely. And the same thing is going on with Afghanistan. And the same thing can be said for a lot of refugees from all over the place. Nobody wants to live in those places the way that they're living, how they're treated, how they have to maintain, all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure there are some people coming from Afghanistan who don't want to come into a country that targets them. This country is horrible about its crime against Muslims and against people from the Middle East. That's been since 9/11, probably even before, with racism. You don't even have to be Muslim, you just have to be brown. But it seems like a much better option than not knowing if you're going to wake up with a Taliban member in your house trying to kill your wife and your children and recruit you into their little terrorist group. Well, I shouldn't say that. Into their terrorist group. So it's way complicated, and it is not an ideal situation to have to take your whole family and move all the way to the other side of the country, to the other side of the world, in a country that doesn't even like you for who you are and how you live and what you believe in. But that it seemed like the better option.
Yeah, the idea of xenophobia, that's definitely something that that's one of the main things that plagues America. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, and I believe it was episode 12 of the podcast, like conflicts is always gonna drive the world. Xenophobia is gonna probably drive the world. Racism, all these things. And another thing that I hear a lot about, and of course I'm a victim of this as well, anything bad that happens in this country, in the US, they're like, oh, I'm gonna move to Canada, or I'm gonna move to London or Paris or Africa and all those types of things. Well, they really have their own conflicts as well. Like even if you go to a South American country like Colombia, they have that's one of the most dangerous places in South America, like stabbings and political riots and all that type of stuff. It's like, do I really, like Ayana was saying, do I really want to go to sleep one night and then wake up with a Taliban member with an AK-47 in my face saying, "Get up, you're recruited"? No, like, I don't want to live that life.
Exactly. And as a Black woman, I'm sure Kristen can agree with me when I say this. I don't enjoy being in this country. I don't enjoy how this country treats me, how it treats my fellow Black men, my fellow Black women. It's daunting to know that every day of my life, I have a target on my back. And because I am a part of the LGBTQ community, I feel a lot more targeted. I'm not closed off about it either. I don't really hide it. I don't make sure that I'm really quiet about it. I live my truth and I live how I am, who I am. But because of that, I'm an easy target for a lot of people. But despite how I and most people I know are treated in this country, I'm sure outside looking in, it's such a privilege to even be born here. My family didn't have to root up and move from a different country over here. We were here already. The privilege of being able to be born this free is something that I try so hard not to take for granted every single day. And I still have my issues with this country. I have a lot of issues with this country. But I know that being here in America, I'm way better off than if I was born into a third world country or into a still developing country. Even if I was born into China, which isn't necessarily the worst, but under a communist regime and how they treat their people with regulations and social media and all that, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I don't think with the experience that I have living here for now 20 years, I could live through that. I would get way tired of my life
I
real
know.
quick.
I know.
And so whenever I hear about, things that's going on in Afghanistan and how people are just trying to survive, and I hear other people's opinions about how they shouldn't come here or they don't deserve it, or well, maybe they shouldn't have, just attacking their innocent character, it frustrates me because, the empathy in this country is just lacking.
Very. Especially since we're very quick to say, oh, if so and so wins, I'll move to Canada. When people in the Middle East aren't given that, like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
accept them as quickly, we automatically demonize them for whatever.
Yeah, like I remember when Donald Trump won, and all my classmates were saying, "Oh, I'm moving to Mexico," or "Oh, I'm moving to Canada." I'm like, "Shut up! You ain't moving nowhere. So stupid ass
Right.
up.
You're not going nowhere.
Shut
And
your dumb
it's
ass up."
awful as the past 4 years have been. The fact that we even have the privilege to vote for our president,
Right.
a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people just get what they get.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all. But yeah, hopefully in the future. I mean, this probably isn't gonna take no damn 5 years to do, but hopefully our country can just like develop more and just be like, hey, throw all this beef crap aside, you know what I'm saying, that you have with other countries, and bring these people in. These are people who want to
Yeah.
live a better life. Like I can't imagine living in a world where I could get killed for listening to. I did
Right.
not mean to chuckle about that. That was not funny. Like I can't imagine myself being killed because I like listening to music,
I
or
can't
even
imagine.
in. Yo, Kristen.
Like, when I was doing my research, I actually read a story and they talked about how it was basically groundbreaking that they still had women reporters on TV. And I was like, how is that so groundbreaking? And I'm like, maybe it's because they're like, you're not really allowed to lead as a woman. And
Yeah.
Exactly.
I can imagine that.
Even
And
I
like,
think I think in like the Middle East, I don't think women can like drive cars. I know like in Saudi
They
Arabia, they
and
are.
yeah,
Okay, that was back when I was like in 7th grade. I think I read that and I was like,
that
oh damn.
in like when we were in high school, I believe.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it was, I wouldn't say just recently, like maybe over the past few years, they've really started to like give women the freedom that they actually deserve as people. But I know that um, under the Taliban, it's like the complete opposite. Women can't go out without a man. They can't drive a
Yeah.
car. They can't work. They can't.
They can't wear
They
no
they
revealing
basically
clothes.
can't do a lot of things without a man present. They have to
Yeah.
wear a niqab, which is like the full covering. The only thing that you can see is their eyes, and like that kind of stuff is, I can't even imagine. Literally, like a week or so ago, I had heard that the most groundbreaking thing that was happening over there was that after the Taliban had taken over a couple more cities, girls were still walking to school. Like that was the most outlandish thing that was happening. And I'm like, the fact that they have to be afraid to go to school
Yeah.
is crazy to me. I've never been afraid to go to school. I've never even had the thought to, well, if I start walking to school now, I don't want to be captured, but I really need to learn. This is my right. That kind of stuff has never even crossed my mind
Yeah.
ever. And to know that there are millions of people on the same planet who are living like that is so disheartening to me. It makes me so sad.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
do. It really do. But yeah, we got about 10 minutes left. Any final thoughts from you guys?
I'm hoping that this new administration can handle this situation as well as possible with what they were given. I hope that, this, as the years progress, this unfair bias that people have against people from the Middle East and Muslim people just dissipates. I'm hoping that it doesn't, I'm hoping that as many people from Afghanistan can make it into a safe place as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kristen.
That Biden can do what he actually had said he was going to do, which is use his leverage to allow more people to come into America.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know if that's like actually going to happen, but I hope it does.
So far, he's been pretty okay with his promises with the whole vaccine situation and all the things he's put into place, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he do, because I ain't vote for your ass for nothing. Just to get Trump out of office. I voted you to do these specific things, like
Exactly. I voted for you for the policies that you said you were gonna do.
exactly. I ain't
Yes.
just vote for you just to have a black vice president,
Like,
black female vice president.
I remember the first thing he did, and I was so happy that he did it. He got rid of the Muslim ban. I was like, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
My people, like, they're here.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Alrighty, y'all. Thank y'all for watching the 1025 podcast. I'm Jordan along with Kristen and Ayana, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
See
Where's my cursor at?
you.